Isiah Thomas is going viral in a major way, basically on a pregame report on NBA TV. They showed a clip of LeBron James in shoot around preparing for the Houston Rockets. Uh, Isiah Thomas took offense of LeBron James in shoot around with no shirt on, and he said, I'm paraphrasing, I 100% object to this. LeBron James, in shoot around with no shirt on. This is not summer league. This is not the YMCA. This is not backyard basketball. This is a professional. This is the highest of highest professional leagues when you're talking about pertaining to basketball. A lot of people are, for and against Isiah Thomas comments. He also went deeper into his opinion about it. He, like today's NBA, it's okay for coaches to wear. He comes from an era where coaches would wear suits, where players before and after game wear suits or wear something appropriate, because it's a business. And a lot of people are taking offense to what Isiah Thomas is saying. I think people are missing the point of what Isiah Thomas is actually saying. But before I get into that point, I first like to state this. I don't take a huge issue of LeBron James in shoot around without his shirt. If he wants to do that, that's fine. I think that's more so on the onus of NBA TV. Y'all should pick and choose what clips y'all want to show on your show. And if it's offensive to the audience, if it's offensive to the people that are covering it on that particular program, then maybe y'all should just choose another clip. Okay? If you want to take it a step further, I feel like the NBA, you just can't record everything. Everything is not going to be appropriate to your viewership. All right? So that's, my 2 cents in it. So I think people are missing what Isiah Thomas is really trying to say. And I think Isiah Thomas, if you really pay attention to what he's saying, there's levels to this. And it goes deeper into a clip of LeBron James in shoot around with no shirt on. He also said he should have been fined. Okay? I think the NBA, and I've been saying this, if you've been following my channel, I've been saying this. I think the NBA has a huge identity problem. They, I don't, first and foremost, player empowerment. If you want your players to have more influence, if you want the players to have more control, if you want the players to have more say so, fine. I don't have an issue either way. If it's a player empowerment league or if it's an ownership league, I really don't care which side of the coin the NBA wants to represent or the NBA wants to be. Okay? I do think that the NBA should take a lot of credence in a lot of things that where the NBA is failing at, the NFL is succeeding on massive levels. And the way they do business in the NFL is light years better and different than the NBA. Even though on the outside looking in, people think it's, the players don't have no say-so in the NFL. I think the players do have some say-so in the NFL, but to a certain extent. I think it's an ownership league because the ownerships are throwing all this ridiculous money to the players. The players get benefits. There are no guaranteed contracts in the NFL. They tried it with Deshaun Watson, and look how that turns out. Okay, Deshaun Watson, most of his contract was guaranteed, if not all. Okay, And I remember a bunch of people saying this is a new era. NFL players are going to start getting guaranteed contracts. You saw a few here and there getting close to guaranteed money, but I knew that that was going to be a fad that was going to fade very fast and very quickly, because the NFL knows that this is a billion-dollar business, and they're not going to jeopardize. Uh, they're not going to put a stain on their shield for a particular player or a particular owner. If you don't believe it, look at Jerry Jones. I'm a huge Dallas Cowboy fan. I don't think the Dallas Cowboys are going to ever reach the Super Bowl as long as Jerry Jones is there. But the NFL, if you look at the league itself, they're not going to let an owner dictate how they should do things in the NFL, or a player dictate to them how they should do things in the NFL. And that's why the NFL, hits all the marks, and why they're way more profitable and way more successful than the NBA. People seem to forget that this NBA TV contract is bigger than last year's NBA TV contract. But people also have to realize the ratings have shrunk. The expectation that these networks was expecting from the NBA, they're not getting it on the front end. They may get it on the back end, but they're not getting it on the front end, which means when this TV contract is done, you have to look at the NBA, how valuable they are when the TV contract is done. Now, the commissioner, he's got a lot of years to fix this, or a lot of years not fixing this. But I feel like the NBA commissioner is doing a disservice to the NBA. You have to have some type of balance, and you just can't just lean towards the players and allow the players to tell you how the league should be moving. Okay, you shouldn't be baited on influence. Just because a player's got 2 million followers on Instagram don't mean a hill of beans to the NBA. The NBA should look at it as, look, the commissioner's there to protect the shield of the NBA. And just because it's fine, it's cool with LeBron, and it's cool with all these other players doing podcasts and doing other things like that, some things that work for just the individual player is not going to work for the NBA. The commissioner, Adam Silver, he's going to have to look at the NBA as a whole, not just a few players, but as a whole. Now, he's doing some things like making sure that you can't have super teams, and how encouraging players to fulfill to play games, by you have to play a certain amount of games to be nominated for an award. And a lot of these awards are tied to a lot of these contracts. Like if you're the defensive player of the year, you get a bonus because you're defensive player of the year. But in order to be defensive player of the year, you have to play more than 65 games. So I think there's some promise. I think Adam Silver is making some adjustments, but he's trying to basically walk on eggshells so he don't upset the players. Okay? But I think Isiah Thomas, what he is referring to is there's an image problem with the NBA. Now, a lot of young folks are going to say, this is old man on the yard that don't want to change. But look at it from this point. When you look at these signature shoes, all these signature shoes, everyone has a signature shoe. When you look at the business of signature shoes, they're heavily influenced on the people that are buying the shoes. Who are the people buying these shoes? Young people. Older people are not buying a lot of signature shoes. Now, there are some older people out there that buy them for retros or buy them for collectors, but it's not a huge community. The signature shoe market is mostly younger people in their 20s, and they're wearing these shoes. So these companies like Nike, Reebok, Converse, whatever a shoe company out there, they're looking at their audience and they're trying to meet their audience demand, and their audience demand are younger people. When you look at the NBA, who buys these TV packages? Who goes to these arenas? Okay? Who's going to these playoff games? Who's going to these final games? These pre-games, these summer league games? Okay? Who's paying for the parking? Who's paying for the seating? Who's paying for the season ticket packages? It's not a lot of young people. Who's watching these games? The demographic is going to change to an older audience. Corporate sponsors. How many corporations you can count on your finger that the owner of that, the CEO of that corporation is a 20-year-old? It's 9 times out of 10, it's an older demographic that's a CEO that has a corporation or company. And the NBA wants them to sponsor their league. That's why you see all these commercials. The official, this company is the official place of the NBA. The official place of the NBA when it comes to banking. The official place of the NBA when it comes to car loans or whatever. Okay? That demographic is not satisfied with how the NBA is being run. And that demographic puts in the most money to make the NBA more profitable. So you have to, there are different demographics. I'm not saying that Adam Silver should completely ignore the younger audience or just discredit the older audience. I think you need to look at all these demographics, but you really need to pay attention to the demographic that puts money in your pockets, Adam Silver, that puts money in the NBA pockets. And they're not satisfied with this product. If you look at the product today, it's just a bunch of scoring. They're just running back and forth scoring. There's no defense. There's few far in between stoppage to stop a run. And it's more of an offensive score. There was one game that both teams, I think it was this week or was it last week, where both teams were almost damn near about to score 200 points. Think about that, folks. 200 points. I love offense, but I don't like to watch a game where both teams could have possibly scored 200 points. I mean, one team was like 100 and something, was 110 or some weird number, and the other team was damn near almost 100, like 90. Okay? That's a huge problem. Look, I understand people like scoring. I understand there's at Sports Center, when they make the clips, they show the dunks, they show the last second shot, they show the 3-point shot. I get all that, but you have to have some type of build-up or drama in your games from start to finish. You have to make it look like that there's a possibility that the other team could win. You have to make the games like NFL games. Why do you think people watch NFL games from start to finish? It's not a guarantee that the team that scores the most is going to win. Defense should matter. Defense matters in the NFL. Defense matters in Major League Baseball. Defense matters in college basketball. Defense matters even in the WNBA. You have to have some type of, yes, the team is scoring, but then the team is on a streak, then the team is on a stop. They can't even, defensive wise. There's a possibility that this team that's been scoring for the past 3 quarters could lose this game. And you don't have that effect in a lot of NBA games. That's what makes the NBA games unwatchable. You can't sell that product night in and night out. And I think this is what Isiah Thomas is alluding to. Uh, Particularly not only the product itself, but you got, you got coaches wearing wearing jumpsuits. Okay, you got you got like a 50, well, you got like 30, 40s, 50, 60 coaches wearing jumpsuits, wearing mixed match jumpsuits with the players. If you're not really paying attention, you think that coach is part of the players. All right, and I'm saying that they should wear a 3-piece suit, but they should wear something that, to the older demographic. Okay, that's the coach. And I'm not saying people are confused that they don't know who the coach is, but what I'm saying is you got to show some level of professionalism. You got to show some level of, this is a multi-billion-dollar business. We're not doing this on the fun. This is not the YMCA. This is not going outside on the blacktop and you seeing a bunch of people playing a basketball game and you see a guy that just happened to come from church. Now all of a sudden he wants to insert himself as the coach. I understand where Isiah Thomas is coming from, and I do understand what he's trying to, what he was saying, but none of this, people are not going to take nothing what Isiah Thomas is saying or what I'm saying until the next TV contract, when the NBA doesn't get a better deal than what they have right now. If they don't change the image of the NBA, if they don't change how they do business, the NBA is going to have a huge identity problem, and that's going to, when they go to renegotiate, a lot of those big time deals are not going to be there. Particularly, you don't even know in the future how TV is going to be, because how we view TV or how we view content, it evolves every other year. And it's getting to the point where it's starting to evolve month after month. So the NBA needs to figure this out, because you're only good as your next deal. Because the NFL, they're going to continue. There's going to be networks that's going to shell out money to have NFL games on there. There's never going to be a year or a decade where the NFL is going to struggle to get their money. They're going to get their money plus more. On the NBA, I'm not too sure. The product is diluted. The product is starting to be unwatchable. And it's got a huge image problem. You got players acting like they got guns in their hands. Now, to me, it's not a big deal to me. Acting like you shooting somebody, it's not a big deal to me. I've seen this before. But to another demographic, it's a huge problem. And to that demographic, that's the one that's putting the money in the league. I don't think people understand that. Yes, you're going to have millions of people watching your game. But how many of those millions of people that's watching your game is putting money into your product? Not that many. That's the point I think Isiah Thomas is making. But People are going to view Isiah Thomas as the old man in the yard. He don't know what he's talking about. He needs to get with the times. You're going to have Draymond Green on his podcast saying that Isiah Thomas is instead of ridiculing Isiah Thomas, or demonizing Isiah Thomas, let's talk about what he's actually saying. Can you poke holes into his argument? Because I can look at the ratings, and the ratings are not that good. Okay? I can also look at sponsors. How many sponsors they had last year, how many sponsors they got this year, and how many sponsors they're going to have for the next season. Okay? I can look at ticket prices. How ticket prices were last year, this year, and because there's no, even in the NBA draft, there's no it guy that, okay, I want to buy season tickets to see how this guy's going to be on this particular ball club. When you're leaning towards superstars of when LeBron and Steph Curry, when it's over for these players, who you're going to have as the new face of the NBA? There's not a lot of it guys. I think LeBron is, his legacy makes him the it guy. When you look at Steph Curry, the things that he's doing now, his legacy, you can promote their legacies, but these players are not what they were. They've been out of their prime. It's time to find the next superstar, and they're few and far between. So I think they have a huge one. The NBA has a huge image problem. Two, the NBA really doesn't identify to the demographic that's putting money into your league. And three, they don't really have anybody that's the next one. Now, I know people are going to say in the comment section, well, what about this guy? What about that guy? I don't think like Zion Williams was supposed to be the face. What happened to Zion Williams? Okay. I remember 3 or 4 years ago, y'all was talking about James Harden. When they said when James Harden get in shape, he's going to be just like LeBron James. Okay, so what happened to James Harden now? So that's what I'm talking about. And the guy from San Antonio, the center from San Antonio, Victor Wembanyama, he's been sidelined with his injuries. He's supposed to be another face of the NBA. I mean, they people are no longer talking about him. What about the Greek Freak? 3 years ago, everyone was talking about the Greek Freak supposed to be the next face of the NBA. You understand the point I'm making? When you have a huge image problem, that's part of having a huge image problem. So, yeah. And like I said, people going to call me a hater. Even though they didn't watch the full video, people are going to call me a hater. People are going to say, I don't know what I'm talking about in the comment section. That's fine and dandy. I just think people, I don't think if you disagree with everything what I'm saying, can you at least agree on this? It's not a guaranteed lock that the NBA is going to get a bigger TV deal than what they got currently right now. It's not a lock. It's not a guaranteed lock that they're going to have crazy ratings because they haven't demonstrated it consistently this season. And that's why it leaves a huge void when there's no when the NFL, when Super Bowl is over and done with. You got college basketball when it's over and done with. And then you got that void where you don't really have anything. You start seeing these other these other leagues like the XFL saying, well, you know what, the NBA ratings are low in this point. Won't we start our season then? So see, that's what I'm saying. The NBA, they need to. All right, I've been on this train for a long, long time on this channel. The NBA has a huge problem, and every time they, disagree and moves on, the problem still shows itself, and it's getting worse and worse. They have a huge identity problem when the NBA. Adam Silver is going to really have to dig deeper, and he's going to have to pick a side. He's going to have to pick a struggle. Are you for the players, or are you for the owners? Are you for the players, or are you for the people that's putting money into your league? Are you for the players, or are you for the network? You're going to have to pick a side. And LeBron can't play another 6 years. LeBron can't play until he's 50. There's going to be, sooner rather than later, LeBron retiring and LeBron moving on. Sooner rather than later, Steph is going to retire and move on. I don't think Giannis is going to have the same type of career as LeBron James. Despite that Luka is doing great with the NBA, you still can't justify Luka getting a Supermax contract. Is Luka going to be your new face of the NBA? I don't think so. There was a point of time I thought that could have happened, but I just don't see it. Anyway, that's all I got. Guys, comment in the comment section. Call me, whatever you want to call me. I'll talk to you guys later. Deuce.